Good evening, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to a special Tuesday episode of Critique Corner with me, Daniel Parker.
And me, DB Fastbinder.
Yes, and if you are returning, welcome back. If you're new, what we do is we like to critique stuff, usually movies or, but sometimes TV shows and other media. With movies, we usually pick something new or contemporary and something older or classic, although this week I think we've just stuck with mainly older movies.
Yes, one is much more classic than the other, though.
That's true, yes. And to get us started for tonight,
we go ahead and get my screen sharing.
yes, we actually didn't talk about what the lineup, what order we're going to do this, but I think I have a pretty good idea which movie you're going to go with first.
I am oddly predictable.
Yes. Yes. Our first movie tonight, B movie.
Yes, the man, the meme, the legend.
Yeah. I actually kind of remember when this movie came out in theaters. I think I was in college, and I remember at the time thinking that it looked really silly, and then having watched it, I'm like, yeah, it's really silly and it's really stupid.
Yeah, and it's like stupid to a degree where it wraps around and is almost like surreal genius, or at least that's what some people seem to treat it like.
Yeah, because the memes are aplenty with this movie.
Right, and I had never seen it before. I knew the broad strokes thanks to people reviewing it over the years.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it other than Jerry Seinfeld was the voice of the bee.
As I recall from when this came out, he had been inspired by the worries about bees disappearing at the time. And so he kind of wanted to make a movie that kind of tackled that. Although I recall a reviewer at the time pointed out that he's kind of providing shade for cover for the different industries that could be responsible for it. It's like, no, the bees are fine. They're just on strike.
Yeah. Yeah. So this movie is a DreamWorks animated movie. I want to say, like, obviously it's like I think, well, when did Despicable Me?
2007, I want to say. Let's see. I linked the 2007. I linked the IMDb for you in our private chat.
Oh yeah, I got it. Yeah. So 2007. Obviously, I think there had been at least 2 Shrek movies before this, and it's basically, so Jerry Seinfeld voices Barry B. Benson, and he's a recent graduate of the bee school, which of course the lifespan of bees being the way they are, that was like 4 days. Which the whole opening sequence, by the way, and you didn't, and I didn't realize it until you pointed it out to me, that like, oh, it's Jerry Seinfeld's stand-up routine.
Yeah. So I am a bit of a nerd when it comes to biology, and I've been on a bit of an entomology kick lately. So him coming in with a bunch of half-formed facts about bees that were supposed to be the basis of jokes, it was kind of a bad move on his part.
Oh.
So there's a lot of weird sexual deviancy in this movie.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because this is the DreamWorks CGI movie about ants about social insects that was in fact not starring what's his name who did Annie Hall.
Woody Allen.
Yeah. Also, it's weird that they tried the same trick twice, basically, considering that while I like ants quite a bit, it didn't do that well in release.
Yeah, because everybody went to go see Bug's Life.
Right. That the origin of ants, as I recall, was literally somebody who was pissed off at Disney Pixar, jumped to DreamWorks and brought the idea for an insect-based movie with him.
Yeah. I believe it was Katzenberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg. Um, but yeah, this movie with this, so Barry, he graduates, and of course, in this B society, they have to pick a job, and that's the job they do for the rest of their lives. And
But,
Barry's just like, what? Really? I don't want to do that.
yeah, which is okay. First off, fun little bee fact: the jobs that bees do actually do change up over the course of their lives. So that premise is kind of actually not accurate.
Not yeah. Well,
Which
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
going to be. I'm just going to get it all out of the way right now. So here are
Okay.
things that the movie hangs jokes on that aren't actually accurate, and I would have expected him to be aware of it. Be aware of it if he
Yeah,
really
yeah,
had been on a deep dive of bee research, like he was implying at the time.
yeah.
Okay. One is that they keep joking that all the okay. Well, first off, all of the bee workers are female, so at best he should be like the queen's gigolo. But I get it. You kind of have to. You're not going to have him portray a drone.
Yeah, yeah.
It's an acceptable break, but they keep making the joke that all the women in the bee colony are their cousins. Technically, they would be half siblings or full
Yeah.
siblings.
Ooh. Uh, yeah, and you mentioned before I think you mentioned it when we were talking about it, and messaging about it, that like they were talking about dating like other insects.
Yeah, like they run into a mosquito later, played by Chris Rock, who I guess he was just like very friendly, on very good terms with DreamWorks.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh man, all the mosquito girls want to trade up, go for a dragonfly or a moth."
Yeah.
They
And
made reference to Barry's uncle or grandfather having an illicit affair with a cricket.
yeah. Well, the other thing too is I noticed that, and I don't know if you've ever seen The Graduate.
I have not.
Okay, so they were actually spoofing that movie in a few scenes, especially
Oh,
like the scene when he's in the pool full of honey. His parents are talking to him. That's from The Graduate.
okay.
Yeah, and the whole thing where he doesn't know what he wants to do. That was also from the movie. And they there's a guy in that movie who tells Dustin Hoffman's character plastics. He's just like, oh, okay. um, but yeah, but what Barry really wants to do though is he wants to be one of the bees that leaves the hive so that they can pollinate the flowers and gather up the nectar for the honey. Um, and so one day he goes out, and then he gets caught in a rainstorm, or he gets stuck to a tennis ball because they think it's a flower.
Right. Which, okay, I kind of liked that scene. Credit where it's due, especially for 2007 CGI. The flying scenes were all really well done.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Like the motion felt right. They had a lot of fun with the perspective of giant things next to normal size or next to tiny things. I kind of wonder if they reused some of that technology with the giant woman when they made Monsters versus Aliens a couple years later.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
I actually double checked because I couldn't recall when the 3D boom was. I don't. It was like the original Avatar came out in 2009, I believe. So this
Yeah, it
predated
was.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah. I
kept
want to
thinking
say
to
it was
myself,
right around there. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I kept thinking to myself, this looks so much like it was made for 3D, but I don't know that it got a 3D release.
Yeah, I don't know either. But yeah, like, and it's also kind of accurate too. Like, because I've watched tennis matches where a bee will land on a tennis ball, and one of the tennis players are like, "I'm not touching that."
Yeah, I wonder. I also wonder if it could have happened to Seinfeld himself.
Probably, yeah. Uh, Yeah. So then Barry gets caught away from the rest of the bees, and he ends up on a windowsill or next to an apartment with a couple. The woman is her name is Vanessa, and she's voiced by Renee Zellweger. And then and her boyfriend Ken, who's voiced by Patrick Warburton. For those of you who don't know, Patrick Warburton, he's been around for a long time, but he played Putty, who is Elaine's on again, off again boyfriend on Seinfeld. So I think so. It looks like Jerry was casting a lot of his friends in this movie.
Well, also this was the phase of CGI movies where I swear it's like there was a law somewhere that if you made a CGI movie, Patrick Warburton got a part in it.
Yeah. Well, he's got a great voice, and he can do.
Oh oh my God.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Yeah.
I will say that Renee herself, not so much of a voice actress, unfortunately.
No.
Kind of sounded a bit stilted. And this is no knock against her. Voice acting is a different skill set than acting, because, a regular actor can enhance what they're saying with their physicality, but unless you have like a top team of animators really working their hearts out, you just can't get that with voice acting.
Yeah. But yeah, so Vanessa kind of takes takes a shine to him. Takes a shine to him, yeah, because she keeps him from getting squished, and then of course, and then they develop this very strange relationship. Yeah,
and he breaks the one rule of beedom: you don't talk to humans.
Yes, yeah,
because apparently all bees can speak English, or perhaps some can speak Spanish, because early on early on when they're doing the tour of the hive, they do have a message spoken in Spanish after a message in English.
Yeah, which is kind of, I think they were parodying Disney in that, because if you've ever been to Disney World, like when you go on a ride or anything like that, they'll say something in English, an instruction in English, like, please keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the tram at all times, and then they'll say it in Spanish.
Yep.
But
excuse me.
That's all right. Yeah, and so it's a little, that the lore of this wasn't really fleshed out very well, amongst a lot of other things that weren't fleshed out in this movie.
Right, like how the world works.
Yeah. But as Barry is out exploring the world, he finds out that humans have been producing honey and using having bee farms and bee colonies to to make honey, and Barry gets very, very angry about this, and decides to sue the human race,
which is a choice.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of the humor in this is very celebrity based. It's very stream of consciousness, stand up based, which is part of why I think that a lot of it doesn't necessarily hold well together. Because, I think an average bee will live maybe a month or so. Excuse me. And they kind of play into that early on because it's 3 days for elementary school, 3 days for high school. They took a day to wander the hive, really find himself, and then went to bee college for 3 days.
Yeah.
But it seems like he is not acting like somebody whose life is going to be over in a couple of weeks.
No, he's acting like it's he's going to be going along for a very, very long time. Yeah, and he doesn't have a whole lot of fear flying around outside either.
No, he got over whatever nervousness he might have had really quick.
Yeah.
Actually, I guess he didn't really have a whole lot of fear. It was his buddy who had a lot of fear.
Yeah, Adam, who was voiced by Ferris Bueller, Matthew
Yep.
Broderick.
Yeah, which I didn't recognize him at the time, but it makes sense in retrospect.
Yeah.
But the rest of the so like I think with this basic setup, there is an interesting idea here of like, what if the bees sued humanity?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Oh.
but from there it turns into this fever dream.
Yeah. Yeah, because suing mankind and winning doesn't go well. Actually, doesn't go the way that Barry was hoping it would, because they have too much honey, and so they don't have to make any more honey, and then the bees don't fly around and pollinate all the plants, and so all the plants start wilting and dying, and including the flowers.
Which is not how pollination works. Like, even remotely. Like, there would be more time than they are presenting before you actually ran into a problem if bees stopped pollinating for a bit. Because, like, trees don't shrivel up and die when they aren't pollinated, like they were showing.
Yeah.
That does occur to me. I'm like, we're being a little bit literal about like this. What things don't work that way, but honestly, if like you're trying to make a movie out of like the plight of bees, I would think that it would help your cause to be a bit more accurate.
Yeah, especially with it being a movie centered at kids, that you want them to be a little more knowledgeable of what it is that the problems that bees are having. Yeah.
Right. And again, like the base site, and of course the all the court scenes are just complete nonsense. Like, not a
Yeah.
single hint of any sort of legal procedure.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, you had the lawyer who was voiced by John Goodman doing his best Southern accent.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury,
Yeah.
God has declared that man can use the honey of the earth any way he pleases.
Yeah. And I don't know if you recognize the voice of the judge.
No, I did not.
Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah?
Yeah.
That is weird.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, I was looking at having like the Ray Liotta Special Reserve honey, and so he showed up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then the whole thing with the B Larry King.
Right.
He's like, they have a Larry King and they just like you.
Yeah, he's like an old man, wears a sweater just like that, does the news, has those little lights in the background just like you.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the better bits in the movie.
Yeah, there was. Yeah. Well, there was a if you could find it on YouTube, there's actually a viral video of when Seinfeld went on Larry King. I think it was after his show ended, and Larry King was saying something like, "Well, your show got canceled." Or like, "What? It didn't get canceled. It ended. We were on for 9 years. It was the #1 show." But yeah, this movie was it was not great.
It is like it's leaning into absurdity in a way that just doesn't work. You described it as like dad humor, all the lines, because like there's a lot of bee puns.
Yeah.
And mostly they do not land.
No. Yeah. I don't get the appeal of this movie.
Oh, we didn't even get into how his weird relationship with the woman results in him cucking Patrick Warburton's character.
Yeah.
Who's like the only character who's reacting to this talking bee being around and ruining his life the right way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, apparently Seinfeld did apologize for that the weird relationship between Barry and Vanessa, saying it's inappropriate for a kids movie.
Yeah, more or less inappropriate than all the talk about interspecies bug dating.
Yeah.
It's all kind of weird.
Yeah.
Especially think it's like the grandpa or uncle was saying like, oh, I knew this cricket down in Pasadena. Oh, the things she could do with her legs.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines.
Yes.
Also,
like that.
sidebar, these are bees who never fly outside of New York, and I'm sure that his uncle was not one of the bees who got to leave the colony and harvest honey or harvest pollen.
Yeah.
How would he have gone to Pasadena?
Yeah, I don't know.
Being a bee who lived in New York and never left his colony.
Yeah. Little plot hole there.
That's the thing. It's like it's absurd, and like an absurd movie can really work well, but and you can like violate your own laws and everything, but you got to be funny.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing with Seinfeld is like his stand-up routines are actually really good, but you get him outside of that, and he's just like, okay,
right. Well, like he also had that bomb Pop-Tart movie last year.
Oh yeah,
on Netflix. Yeah. And I think he might have been trying for a bit of a grift because he was trying to like, I think there was some like culture war that he was trying to evoke with it.
Yeah.
With the promotion of it. But I don't recall the details.
Yeah, I think it was something. Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah, because he was very he didn't like what was happening to comedy.
Right.
Being, like you can't really say anything. You can't be funny anymore without offending somebody. Yeah.
Right. Which, that's accurate and fair enough, but you aren't being funny in general. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, like, the animators worked really hard. Like, so some of the models are low polygon, like by modern standards, but the actual artistry in it, like the whole elaborate hive machinery they have there, with like they have like taffy pull things making the honey, working all the time, and like these elaborate crazy machines and tests they're always doing. Like the animators worked hard.
Yeah. No, the animation. Yeah, the animation's really great. Yeah.
Heck, as I'm looking at this movie poster here, I didn't notice this in the movie itself, but you notice how the back of his leg has those little bristles on them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing that real bees have to help them pick or keep the pollen.
Huh.
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
There's a lot of attention to detail here.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, and it's sad that it was wasted on a really bad story.
I can see why it was a meme a few years back to like play B movie. It's like, oh, it's B movie, but every time a character says B, the movie goes twice as fast. Or playing this game, but every single time I die, I have to read another paragraph from the B movie. Like, it's just so absurd, and like I think if I had watched this as a kid, I would have been like, I feel like there was up to a certain age, I felt like I had to like things, or like, well, everything's good. Am I the problem here?
Yeah.
I think I would have just been so confused.
I think I would have been too. Yeah. Well, I probably would have thought like, this is dumb. I want to watch Ninja Turtles.
Yes, the superior choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to leave without giving credit where it was due.
Yeah.
Now Daniel is the only one with a solo thing this week, and his Discord activity has been tattling on him for what that was. So let's see what he thought of Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes. Yeah. So I finally got around to playing this game. I kind of ashamed to admit I bought it twice. First time I bought it, I actually pre-ordered it, which was a mistake because For those of you who remember when this game came out, 4 or 5 years ago, uh, it had glitches to high heaven, and it was almost unplayable.
Now, was it Sony who was offering refunds for this, or Xbox that was offering refunds for this? I remember one of the consoles, like I think with Xbox they kept it listed, but you could get a refund, and Sony just delisted it and was resisting refunds as hard as they could.
I think that's right. Yeah. But yeah, it was, yeah. But yeah, but so I tried playing it when it came out, and I had it on the Xbox One, and I for whatever reason I just could not get into it. It was really hard. Like I do the prologue, but then once I got past the prologue, I just couldn't get in. It wasn't the story; it was just the gameplay. The mechanics and the trigger mechanisms weren't very good, and I got frustrated and stopped playing it. And then last year last Christmas I got a PS5, and I thought, well, I'll give this game a try, and got the whatever collector's edition or whatever it was for the PS5, which included Phantom Liberty, the DLC. And I did play that too.
Phantom Liberty.
Oh,
My bad. That was on my end.
I was like, why am I hearing myself? That's all right. It's all right. But yeah, so I decided to go ahead and play it, and I managed to not only get past the prologue, but I managed to play the game all the way through for 80-ish hours. But no, it's a decent enough game. I mean, it was enjoyable. I mean, once I figured everything out, like how to do the like the role playing aspect of it, like building up, leveling up, getting the cybernetic upgrades, and getting the guns and everything. It was actually much more enjoyable. The main story I think is really the highlight of it. And of course, there's some side missions that were a lot of fun to play too. So there's like 3 different missions. You had the main story missions, you have side missions, and then you have what are called gigs. And the gigs are basically just like little missions you do where it's like, okay, so you're a mercenary. V is a mercenary, and you work with these people called fixers, who are basically middlemen, and they give you a job, and they say, all right, go to this place, steal this, or upload this virus to servers, or take somebody out. And then like the side missions are kind of like not involved with the main story, but they're just side missions. And then you had the main story, But so I'll focus on the main story. So the game starts off where you're playing V, and you can choose whatever backstory you want for V, and also choose which gender you want, male or female. And then so I did the corpo background, which is V works for a corporation called Arasaka, but then they basically get fired from the job, and then V becomes a mercenary and works with their buddy Jackie Wells, and then Jackie gets the score of a lifetime, which is you break into a hotel, like a real swanky hotel, to steal a biochip that has the personality engram of an old rocker slash terrorist named Johnny Silverhand, who is played by Keanu Reeves. And during the course of the mission, things go wrong, and then V gets the chip in their head, but then V gets shot in the head by the fixer who betrays him, and then the chip saves V's life, but now Johnny Silverhand is now in V's head. So as you're playing through the game, you see Keanu Reeves popping up and talking to you. And the way you can play the game, and so basically the crux of the game is V's trying to figure out how to save their life and get Johnny out of their head before they die. So you go through. You have different paths that you in, like any choose your own Destiny game. You have different paths that you can take to get to that end point. And it's, I will say, once once you get past the reputation of the game having all the being real glitchy and everything when it came out, it's actually an enjoyable game now, because they've basically, it gets a little glitchy every now and then, but most of the real major stuff is all gone, so it's actually an enjoyable experience. And it's an open world game, so it's like the Arkham, Batman Arkham games, or the Spider-Man PlayStation game, where you can go around Night City and just explore and do all kinds of stuff, and it has the fun little things, like being able to get different cybernetics, and you can also get buy different cars and motorcycles and buy different apartments as you build up your reputation, and you get more eddies, as they say, credits. But yeah, it is actually a really fun game. And of course, being somebody who writes in the cyberpunk genre, it was kind of just a given that I would be playing this game. So, but yeah, it's
a natural fit.
Yeah, it's a natural fit. Yeah. It's if I had to compare it to other things in the genre, it would be obviously Blade Runner is in there. A little bit of Ghost in the Shell, actually. Certain aspects from that franchise pops in here, especially with when they're dealing with stuff in cyberspace and AIs and people's consciousness being in the net and all that stuff. But yeah, if you've got, I don't know how much it is on on any of the PlayStation or Xbox or anything like that. But definitely, if you haven't tried it, I would recommend giving it a try. It's on, like I said, it's PS5. I believe it's on Xbox.
Yep.
And
Steam.
Steam. Yeah, you can PC version. Yeah. So
almost certainly on Good Old Games, since it's their company.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yep. Well, the only thing I really have to add to that is it's funny that you came out with this review today, because there's an interview that's been flying around with the writer of the anime version of Cyberpunk that came out a couple years back.
Right. Yeah.
And his reason for writing the show basically boiled down to: Poland is a sad place. People that are born sad and they die sad. I wanted to make the world sad.
Yeah, and you'll definitely feel some sadness in parts in playing this game too. Yeah, just because of how bleak Night City can be at times.
The other detail is that apparently the person who created the RPG this was based on is in my area and will occasionally pop in at a game store I go to, though I've never happened to be there at the same time as him.
Oh. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Can't recall his name off the top of my head, but small world.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really have a good transition to our final classic movie review, so let's just get in there.
Yeah.
First Blood.
Did you first blood, not me?
I feel like this cover misrepresents what the movie really is. The cultural reputation of Rambo as a whole completely misrepresents what this movie is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I have never seen a Rambo movie before, but I kept saying this when we were going through the Death Wish movies, where I said this kind of has the same cultural reputation as Rambo, where you have a first movie that has a point and is kind of tragic and good, if a little bit silly and over the top, and then it just turns into a cartoon after a while.
Yeah, and well, in the case of Rambo, there was a cartoon,
and it is astounding to me. Well, first off, what irresponsible parents were letting their kids watch this movie?
Yeah, good question.
Second, who looked at this poor, mentally damaged character and said, who we'll get into it in a minute, but like his actions in this movie are kind of unforgivable, and said, yeah, there's our hero.
Yeah. There's
well,
the
they
action
didn't have
movie
sequels
here.
in mind from the jump. So,
Oh yeah. There's our action hero for the decade.
Yep.
Yeah. So First Blood, is the story of John Rambo, who he's in. Movie starts off. He's in the Washington, up in DB's neck of the woods in Washington State.
Oregon, actually.
Oregon. Oh, okay.
Yep. It all looks the same.
Yeah. But yeah, so he's in Oregon, and he's there visiting an old war buddy of his because he's a Vietnam vet, and he finds out that his buddy passed away because he got exposed to Agent Orange, which for those of you who don't know the history of Vietnam, Agent Orange was a chemical that we used to
a defoliant, as they called it.
Defoliant, yes. And unfortunately, caused cancer for a lot of people, including many of our soldiers. So,
yeah.
I
had an uncle who got diabetes from it. Like, he's the only member of the bloodline who actually had diabetes.
Yeah. It was bad. Well, that whole war was just ill-advised.
It's like, okay, if you're going to fight a war, fight the war to win. Don't waste people's lives prolonging the inevitable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But so Rambo, so then Rambo goes off, and he's basically just drifting and wandering the streets, and he comes up to this little town and run by a very what would you call
corrupt doesn't seem like the right word, because like corrupt to my mind implies that you're selling favors for things. More just like he's a bully with a badge.
This Sheriff Teasel, who's played by Brian Dennehy, and so he picks Rambo up and says, basically runs him out of town, and because he doesn't want him around because he's a drifter, and obviously, by the way, this wasn't, it's not mentioned in the movie, but I think it was mentioned in the book that the movie is based on. Teasel is a Korean War veteran. And
it was mentioned that he had been in the service, I think.
Yeah.
But they didn't specify when.
Yeah, and he's part of his motivation is that he's very jealous of the Vietnam veterans because they were getting so much attention. And the Korean War, for those they call it the Forgotten War because it was right after World War II, and it ended with a ceasefire and an armistice, and just nothing really got accomplished with that other than splitting Korea into two countries where one is prospering and the other one clearly is not.
Yes. And also a lot of veterans from earlier wars have kind of mild disdain for Vietnam vets because it's like, well, you guys failed.
Yeah.
Never mind that they were put in an impossible situation. So we have to fight defensively. We can't go over a national border to actually take the fight to the enemy. So we just have to go out and patrol and wait to get ambushed. Fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. But yeah, so Teasel runs Rambo out of town, but Rambo, not one for wanting to be pushed around, turns around and tries to walk back to the town, leading Teasel to arrest him, and then his deputies proceed to treat him very rough and very poorly, which leads to Rambo having some post-traumatic flashbacks to his time in Vietnam, and he eventually snaps, beats up all the deputies, and runs out of the station and flees into the mountains.
Yeah, and whoever was the stuntman on that motorbike, man, he was taking his life into his hands that whole chase.
Oh yeah, yeah,
just gunning down the street at top speed, no helmet, no like in a wife beater, down a creek bed, just
raining, and wet roads, yeah,
that was impressive.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So that's the inciting incident. The rest of the movie is the local sheriffs and the National Guard having to ramp up their attempts to bring down Rambo, because what do you know? It turns out Rambo isn't just some random drifter with dog tags. He's in a Green Beret, some sort of special forces.
Yeah, he was Green Beret. He was a Congressional Medal of Honor recipient. Yeah, he was a real deal. And but at the halfway point in the movie, when they're all trying to get everything organized, that's when Colonel Troutman shows up, his old commanding officer, who was played by Richard Crenna, and he just kind of lays it all out for him and says, "You guys don't know who you're messing with here."
Right. You're basically picking a fight that you cannot win, because he has been trained to live off the land, eat things that would make
Billy Goat puke. Yeah,
Billy Goat puke. That's it.
Yeah.
And he just shows incredible resilience. Like he gets his arm gashed when he falls off down a cliff. He sews himself up, as you can kind of see on the cover there.
Yeah.
He finds himself a feral pig, which I don't know if they were a thing in that part of the country in the 80s, but there was actually, you know what? I'll tie it together for the movie. They did knock down a bunch of local farm fences in the course of their chase up into the mountains. So maybe it got loose then. So there we go.
Yeah. And of course, he ends up in a mine shaft, and then of course it's infested with rats, and they're all biting him, and
and the way he gets trapped in that mine is that you have a bunch of weekend warriors, the National Guard, show up, and I loved the way they portrayed them, just as this huge counterpoint about contrast with Rambo himself, because he's this lean, mean fighting machine. They're a bunch of them are kind of overweight. They all have their wristwatches and wedding rings on, even as they're out there in the mountains fighting. One guy just would not stop chewing his gum.
Yeah. Yeah, they all look like accountants, and and I think the lead guy was a pharmacist. He's just like,
yeah. If he wasn't, he looked like it.
Yeah. But yeah. So and then it all kind of culminates where Rambo shows up in the town, and he basically goes killdozer without the killdozer.
Right. He has an M50 instead, and unlike Charles Bronson in Death Wish 3, which is the detail I forgot to mention, I believe he is actually holding that machine gun properly.
Yes.
And unlike Bronson, who had his hands over the vents, that would have burned them horribly.
Yeah.
Although I think that particular machine gun, you do have to have it on a tripod or bipod to actually fire it.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, because of the kickback. Yeah, because yeah, if you're just holding that with your hands, that thing would be flying everywhere.
Yeah. None of the precision shots to knock out the power in the whole town like he got there.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. Like, okay, so I've talked about this before. It's the Bugs Bunny rule of making a sympathetic protagonist,
Yeah.
where they aren't the one to start things, and they are like they respond to escalation in kind.
Yeah.
Because like for the first group of like first time he runs into the sheriff and his deputies, he gets shot at. In fact, he gets I believe he gets a grazing shot at one point.
Yeah.
And like he tries his best to escape, but it's like, okay, after he jumps down that cliff, it's like, okay. And he still doesn't actually kill anybody on the second go round, though he does kill 3 dogs, which is
Yeah, not going to earn you a lot of sympathy.
No. But
yeah.
like some of his traps like could have been lethal, like the one with the spikes he did.
Yeah, going into the guy's legs.
Yeah, that was brutal. And like his last fight in the police station, after he's like he is a one-man terrorist cell basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course that's when Troutman shows up to to talk him down, and he says, it's over, Johnny. He's like, I think it's over.
And then he proceeds to give a monologue that is one of those reasons why I am more of a Stallone guy than a Schwarzenegger guy. Because in his career, Stallone just has multiple. He has multiple monologues like this that he just delivers so well and so raw, and it's like, and as he's like as he's venting to Troutman about what his life is like after getting out of the service, like when he's telling the story of how his friend died, he's just totally incoherent. Like you can't actually follow the story at all because he's reliving it, and it's like the moment that destroyed him.
Yeah.
I ended up rewatching that scene a few times because the company behind this had it up on YouTube, and the comments are just full of people saying, my father was in the service, and he never talked about it, but we watched this scene and he cried.
Yeah.
I'm misting up right now just thinking about it because it's just a raw scene, and if you don't pull up Tubi and watch this movie, go find that scene.
It hits really hard. And it's just a reminder of what our servicemen and women go through when they have to go fight in a war. It's just
it isn't like World War II where they came home and were seen as heroes and liberators. Like they got home and were told, "Oh, you're baby killers and imperialists and failures." And
they were getting spit on, and now I want to mention real quick that there were actually they did 2 endings to this movie. And first they were going to go with the ending that's in the book, which was Rambo has Troutman unalive him. But I guess some studio person decided, no, I don't want to do that. I want to make sequels to this movie. So let's have another scene where he just gets arrested.
Which, financially it was the right choice, but I did keep thinking that, like, if I didn't know better, just from his body language, I felt like Troutman was about to pull out his service revolver and end it.
Yeah. And definitely gave off that impression. Yeah.
And also, Richard Crenna in that scene is great just because he is clearly a strong, stoic man trying to hold back his own tears and failing.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was part of the I would say probably major motivation for Troutman's the character was, he did feel like he failed Rambo, just because coming back home and not because he's the one who trained him, he's the one who taught him how to do all this stuff and turned him into this killing machine, and then the war ended and he went back home and he just couldn't adapt to life. And
out there I was flying helicopters and driving tanks. Government put me in charge of $1 million machines. Back here I can't even hold down a job parking cars.
Yeah.
The other thing is that this is a tragic movie no matter how you look at it. Totally different world if the sheriff had said, "Hey son, welcome to town. You look like you could use a hot bath and a slice of pie."
Yeah. Which is what a normal sheriff probably would have done.
Right. Or he would have said, "Hey, you doing all right? Let's get you over to the local church. They're doing this. They're doing this type of charity on Sundays or whatever."
Yeah. We get you clean clothes and warm meal. Yeah.
Right. Like even if you turned him out after that, at least do a little something for him in the meantime.
Yeah.
But nope, this was a bully with a badge.
Yeah.
I can't think of the last movie I saw that was this sad. That it's sad, but it's also awesome action scene after crazy awesome action scene that he really should not have survived several times over.
Oh yeah.
At the very least, that big wound on his arm after he ended up in the rat water in the cave or in the mines, he should have gotten a wicked infection.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think to mention this at the start, but this was, or maybe I did. It was my first time seeing this one, and it's just, he's a super soldier, but that's it's a tragic thing in this movie, what he is.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And they kind of, I guess they kind of rectify that in the sequels. Because in First Blood 2, the colonel, Troutman, he gets him out of prison and basically sends him on a suicide mission to Vietnam to rescue POWs.
Which we might have to watch that movie at some point, but I feel a little bit conflicted about that, given what the character has already been through.
Oh yeah.
Although I guess that would be if he can't live a normal life anymore, he can at least do that damage for some good. But this is kind of I do keep bringing this back to Death Wish, where it wouldn't have made as much money. It might not have stuck around in the zeitgeist longer, but artistically, he didn't really need sequels.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
I did mention I like Stallone a lot, but I think he does have an unfortunate tendency to kind of have a character like this and sand it off, sand off the edges a bit.
Yeah. Well, he did that with Rocky.
Yeah. Which is funny because Rocky was his character, where this was based on a novel. But in this one, apparently Stallone insisted that he couldn't actually kill any of the detectives or any of the sheriffs, I should say.
Yeah, because actually, if I remember correctly, the version of Rambo in the novel is actually much more vicious. He actually does kill a lot of people in the book.
Right, where his hands are relatively clean here.
Yeah.
Oh, I also want to talk about the directing here a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Some of these shots are amazing.
Yeah, they are.
You can also tell where this was a lot of people's favorite movie growing up. You know that scene where you have the sniper in the helicopter trying to get a beat on him, and the camera pans around, like the helicopter's on one side of the tree trunk. Then like Rambo moves a little bit, and it shifts over to the other side of the tree trunk, just like a clean helicopter shot, or clean like shot with the helicopter emerging from behind the tree again.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I kept thinking to myself when I was watching that, I've played this video game, or at least I've seen that shot in a video game before, but I can't think of which one.
Yeah. May have been one of the Call of Duty games. I don't know if you're.
Yeah, I was getting a Gears of War vibe with it.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah. It was directed by the director's name is Ted Kotcheff. And just looking at his filmography here, don't really recognize any of like the early
Weekend
stuff.
at Bernie's.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a divergence there, man. Okay, then.
53 things. Some Law
we
and Order.
We directed North Dallas 40. Okay.
Folks, Weekend at Bernie, switching channels.
But yeah, no, very well directed. Just all around a very well done movie.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm glad they went with Stallone rather than the actor that they originally wanted to play Rambo.
Oh.
Dustin Hoffman.
Okay, no, I could not have believed Hoffman at any stage of his life being a super soldier.
No. But yeah, as DB mentioned, it's on Tubi. Yeah.
That sounds like they picked an actor who they thought would draw an audience because he was a known quantity.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. But yeah, the movie's on Tubi. If you haven't seen it yet, or heck, pick it up on. I don't know if it's gotten a 4K release, but I know it got a Blu-ray release.
I would think it. I would think it would have to. Oh, and also apparently Ted Kotcheff passed this year.
Oh, he did. Oh, I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
Wow, 93 or 94.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty recently. I want to say that was like in the spring. Yeah, April.
Well, regardless, here's to you, Mr. Kotcheff. You did a fine job on this movie.
Indeed, yes. Well, I think we've said all we need to say for tonight.
And perhaps a bit more, but
yeah,
we're here to have fun and talk movies.
Yes. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it as always. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, ring the bell, buy some books, and yes. We'll see you on our regular night and time, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Until then, take it easy.
Later, guys.